Welcome back, everybody, to your three-man booth. We're in the 2021 NFL offseason. Sayonara last year. I'm Dan Salem with Phil and Bud. Do you all guys watch Tom Brady pitch the Lombardi trophy across the water? That was the highlight of the year for me.
Apparently the woman who created the design for the Lombardi trophy?
No, the daughter of the guy who is the daughter of the guy who created it.
Oh, okay, something like that. Yeah, she's not too happy about that.
Well, I mean, he made a perfect toss and it was caught. So what are you going to complain?
It begs the question: will the Lombardi trophy float or sink? Because if whoever didn't catch it, if he fumbled it, and went in the water, was it going to go right to the bottom of the ocean of Tampa Bay?
Would Tom Brady have dove in immediately to go retrieve it?
I don't think did you guys see the video of him afterwards? He looked slightly intoxicated, so I don't think it was a great idea for him to jump into the water. Listen, good for him, right? I mean,
Yeah.
When he wasn't drinking when he was on the Patriots. I mean, he certainly seemed like he was having fun. I was down in Florida during the Super Bowl, and we were at Disney, and almost like immediately, everybody in the state of Florida is a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. It's amazing.
Yeah. After they won, more people watched the Super Bowl in New England than in Tampa Bay. But once you win, yeah.
Well, I thought that and I was proven wrong. I don't know what the exact number is. I thought this was going to be statistically the highest rated Super Bowl in history for obvious reasons, because most people are home, not watching at parties. It wasn't, though.
Well, so they were very unique headlines. The numbers were slightly down on TV, but the streaming numbers were way up because it was getting streamed on a lot of services. Is that what you said, a combination of the two and still true, or is it truly only TV only?
I don't know. That's a good question because
I don't think ratings. Yeah, but I don't think ratings factor in streaming services.
And it's hard to, at least right away. I mean, you think 2 weeks later they'd know. But yeah,
I stopped my vacation for the night and I hunkered down and watched it and got aggravated. So,
well, and I don't watch my regular TV very often, but I watched it for the Super Bowl. So it's just ironic I went the other direction on it. But I mean, it was not a great football game. It was a unique halftime show. It was what it was. But how about them putting a bunch of drunk football players on boats? That's always a good idea, right?
Great idea. I mean, listen, it's either otherwise they'd be drunk and on,
Oh no, that part was good. It's just
driving around. I mean, what's the difference, right?
Well, I think didn't you say you saw Gronk at Magic Kingdom or no?
He was at the studios and he was at Magic Kingdom. We didn't go to any of those places on Monday because we did not want to deal with the crowds.
Oh yeah.
Because we knew that somebody was going to be there because it was either Gronk or Tom Brady. I guess Tom Brady didn't go. It was just Gronk that went.
Oh, well, that's fun. You were closer to the action than we'll ever be, Bud.
I could care less.
I guess the Super Bowl will be in LA next year. Maybe I'll have to go and see.
You're gonna have to if they allow fans.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk off-season predictions, but that's a good segue. I mean, I'm assuming we'll have some reasonably full stadiums this year. We'll see what happens. But on a lighter note, I was gonna lead in with, we always have a team that wins the offseason. And that team that wins the offseason generally does poorly during the regular season. The New York Jets having won it, I think, 2 years ago and 4 years ago. They traditionally spend a lot of money, get the big free agents. And when they got Le'Veon Bell and CJ Mosley, they won that offseason and then had a somewhat reasonably forgettable season. Who's going to win this offseason? Like, there are big names out there. Deshaun Watson's at the top, but he's a trade target, not a pickup. Who do you guys think what team is poised to win this year?
The team that wins is going to win the wide receiver market, because that's all the people that are going to be in free agent, because all these quarterbacks have to be traded, right? Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson's, and you hear his name.
Yeah.
it's going to be a wide receiver heavy free agency.
Yeah, Wentz has got to be traded. I think Dak Prescott not technically available.
See, that's
It
interesting.
looks like Sam's going to get traded too. I mean,
Yeah.
you just constantly hear rumors about him, and it's funny. I mean, Dan, you're kind of away from New York, but I listen to obviously New York radio stations. Do you know that the Jets posted on their actual Instagram site? They posted a mock draft from somebody, and it has them picking at number 2 Zach Wilson. The Jets, the actual team PR sent out the mock draft of them drafting a quarterback at number 2. How do you think that bodes with Sam Darnold, who is on the roster right now? Like you gotta think that at this point, I mean, he's got to be gone, right?
Absolutely. Good thing you bought the jersey.
Yeah. Sam's probably Sam's probably praying that they trade him to Indianapolis.
Oh, yeah. That would be a great fit for him.
Yeah,
good offensive line, good defense, solid weapons, good running game, good coaching.
Yeah, the Colts are a good fit for a lot of quarterbacks with upside.
Like that's the team I think is going to essentially win the offseason, right? Because they need a quarterback. They don't have one right now. They don't have a starting quarterback, and I think the Colts have a pretty good chunk of cap space, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, they have a good team because they drafted well, so I think you're right. I think they do have some to spend, and they don't spend it very often.
Now, did I hear it right that if the Cowboys franchise Dak, they have to essentially cut almost 2 players just to meet that money?
Yeah. Well, I mean, his cap number would be like $38 million.
Right. Right.
You know who else could be available is Roethlisberger. I mean,
oh yeah.
So Pittsburgh is in a cap hell. If he stays on the roster and they make no changes, they essentially can't sign any free agents. They would be $22 million over the cap with the current structure and the current roster right now. So
and we're expecting a dip in the cap, right? Like it's not going to go up, I don't think. So
no, I think it's supposed to either stay the same or go slightly down. Ben's cap hit is almost $40 million.
Yeah, they can't afford to keep him, but who's going to pick that up?
Nobody.
Yeah.
So do they cut him a la JJ Watt, who's free agent now? I mean, I don't know how you could cut Ben, but
well, JJ Watt essentially they mutually agreed to part ways, right? Which I don't think is surprising to anybody.
No, how about how much of a team player he's been over the years? Because that franchise, I mean, by all accounts, they hid their trash well, but they fired the coach, they fired the GM, the president leaves, the quarterback asked to leave, and then JJ Watt's just like, okay, can I go now too, please? And so they left.
But what most people don't realize is that it's actually a good business move to release him because he was going to make a ton of money, and you don't want to get the cap hit on Deshaun Watson is really not that high this year, but JJ Watts would have been, astronomical. It would have been in the $20 million range. So you get rid of him and it's no money lost for you.
Well, it's a good football decision for that standpoint, but he's the face of the franchise. I mean, he's known outside of Houston to non-football fans. So like he brings people to the game. He brings eyeballs to the Texans, right? And now he's gone.
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, like you said earlier, I mean, the Texans are just a dumpster fire. They have no idea what the hell they're doing.
I'm sorry. Phil's catch is large across.
What happened?
I just saw Phil's cat's butt. It was just cracking me up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
A good luck charm.
Yeah. No, I know. He's not adding a lot, but he's got name recognition. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he goes and he wants to win a championship. I don't know where he's going to go and be able to do that.
See, speaking of that, it'll be interesting to see how many ring chasers we see go down to Tampa next year.
Well, they can't add everybody.
No, you're right. But I think like Godwin is a free agent, so he may or may not stay there. I mean, you didn't even know he was playing in the Super Bowl. This was Brady was only throwing to people that he trusts, and that was Gronk and barely Mike Evans, right? And Antonio Brown. That's it. Nobody else barely even played in that game.
Yeah.
It felt like.
I know.
Leonard Fournette had a good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he brought him in though. Essentially, he's all.
Well, Fournette almost left because he was on the bench. I mean, I love that
Yep.
story. They convinced him to stick around, and it was a good decision for him. But at the time, he wasn't the starter.
But I mean, Chris Godwin, he was a fantasy stud in the first 5 or 6 weeks of the year. What do you have? 1 catch, 2 maybe in the Super Bowl? You didn't even know he was there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about how Tom Brady, like, he manages his own energy throughout the season, like, perfectly. So they turned into more of a running team for several weeks. But it's a shame. Godwin and Mike Evans are tremendous players, and they totally disappeared.
Well, Mike Evans caught a touchdown, so I guess that's not he was a little bit involved, but
he had an ankle injury during the year too, so it makes sense that they were scrambling for other players.
But like I was saying before, the wide receiver, I mean, Will Fuller, Allen Robinson, Chris Godwin, Juju, I think is available. There's a ton of top flight free agents wide receivers available. So, and the Giants need one of them. Let's not kid ourselves.
I was just going to say the Giants got to grab one.
They get one of them. They have to.
Sterling Shepard is a tremendous number 2 if you can get.
Absolutely. They're all number 2s. They're all awesome number 2s. They don't have a number 1, and they need a number 1. Overpay if you have to. You need a number 1.
Well, the overpay mentality doesn't often work out, but I know what you're saying.
But you mentioned it a few weeks ago. Be first, right? Don't wait till the end. Make that splash first and let everyone else play catch up.
Yeah, I mean, I was referencing that in terms of a coach, and the Jets did that, and I'm thankful for it. But
it worked out.
It applies in this wide receiver market too, though, because if you can get the best wide receiver, and you set the market price, then you're not going to overpay for the second guy. So I think that's a good philosophy. If you can
NFL free agency is over in like a day and a half. So if you don't get anybody in those first 2 days, you're SOL, because NFL free agents don't. Well, this is an NBA. They don't take months to make a decision. This is done in days.
So I kind of feel like I know Joe Douglas. I'm not sure what the Giants are going to do. I actually do think that they'll make a signing that first day. I could see Joe Douglas signing an offensive lineman, and that's about it, and not doing anything. Even though they got a lot of money, he just kind of buys.
But you have to. I mean, they have what, the top cap space in the league. I mean, you got to spend that money.
I know, but
Beckham.
You think Beckham?
No, not a chance. The more I think about it, and the more I read what's going on here. If I were him, I would keep the second. I wouldn't trade anything for Deshaun Watson. I would draft the quarterback at 2. And then unless you're sold on Sam. If you're sold on Sam, you get an offensive lineman at 2. You bring in some wide receivers. You sign Juju or you sign Will Fuller.
I thought you wanted Devontae Smith.
Well, so if they can get one of those receivers first day of free agency, money, draft the quarterback or the offensive lineman. But
that's true. Yes, agreed.
Can you really pass on that wide receiver at 2 or trade back and pass on him at 3 or 4? Because that guy's.
If you don't, Miami's going to draft him. If you don't take him at 2, Miami's going to take him at 3.
Are they going to take a quarterback? Because 2 is.
They seem to be sold. Yeah, but they seem to be sold on 2. I mean, the things that I read about that is that they knew that this year was going to be rough because he had no offseason and he was coming off of an injury, and they're willing to work with him. Like, I don't.
I guess. I mean, Arizona punted on Josh Rosen real fast, and it was the right decision. Now he got picked up by San Francisco. I think it's a backup role, but it's just.
Josh Rosen didn't win a national championship with Alabama.
That's true, but he also didn't have shoulder surgery.
No, it was hip. I thought it was hip. Was it hip or shoulder?
Hip.
Which is probably more important.
Sorry, it's Trevor Lawrence that's going into shoulder surgery, which is kind of like. Whoa.
Yeah, but it's not his throwing arm. It's his left arm, so it's completely fine.
Okay, Mr. Doctor over there.
He's a righty. He throws with his right arm. Like,
I know. It just scares the hell out of me when someone says, "Look at what I can do." Now I'm going to go into surgery. It's just, I mean, there's a lot of talk now that he's not. People are saying, "Oh, maybe he's not the best." You always get the negative smoke around this time of year. Or maybe he's not the top pick.
Could you imagine if he falls to 2? Could you just imagine if like Justin Fields jumps up, or I mean, just like you said, people are like, whoa, let me take a step back. Now it's probably not going to happen. But I mean, I don't know if the Jaguars are really prone to making stupid decisions like that, but could you imagine if Trevor Lawrence falls to 2 for whatever reason?
They did hire a coach who they had to promptly fire within like 2 weeks because
Oh man, I know.
Urban Meyer's
and Urban Meyer came out and defended it. And I don't see the Urban Meyer experience lasting very long in the NFL, to be quite honest with you.
Maybe I have to retract my previous statement then.
Well, so then maybe they will. I mean, who do they reach for at 1 if they pass on Lawrence because they're scared off?
Justin Fields.
I don't know. I get, yeah. So one of these other guys. It's not going to happen. But if like you say, he has a setback in his shoulder, like, well, maybe we're not so sure.
Well, you say it's not going to happen, but it could happen.
Of course it could. It could, but I wouldn't bet on it.
All he has to do is fail as a Wonderlic or something, and then people are like, "Oh no!"
I don't think the Wonderlic was.
These people put stock in the silliest things. I mean,
I hear about that stupid thing every year, and I forget. I don't know the number or the names of the quarterbacks, but they list off every year the quarterbacks who failed the Wonderlic test, and they're like top 5 in the league. So I mean, that test is irrelevant.
I know, but those players probably fell in the draft. So
no, but these are like top flight quarterbacks that had like awful I'm talking about quarterbacks.
No. I know, but players fall, and I'm just. This is what's happened the last few years. They've always gotten the guy that they wanted beforehand. Somehow somebody passed on them. Now it hasn't necessarily worked out, but Quinton Williams and Becton Mackay both fell to them a spot or two. You know, we weren't thinking they'd be available, and then they were. So I'm prepared for anything. We kind of danced around who's going to quote win the offseason. It's got to be somebody bad who spends a lot of money, but they're desperate to get up there. I mean, I'd pick the 49ers because they want to return to prominence, but they aren't that type of team. I'm trying to think. Who would it be? Jacksonville's. Go ahead. Jacksonville could do it.
Well, I know that you said like bad teams, but could it be possible that a team maybe like Cleveland?
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So like here's my thought process on it. Like, you get rid of Odell Beckham. Clearly they're a better team without him on the field. Yeah. You can stockpile some draft picks for him. Maybe you go out and you sign JJ Watt. And then you put Myles Garrett on one side and JJ Watt on the other side. Now all of a sudden your defensive front has become even better than it already was.
On paper.
Second year in the Stefanski offense. I mean, Cleveland could be a
you're talking
11, 12 win team.
You're talking yourself into them having a good season. I'm talking about winning the offseason.
Well, I mean, if they're able to trade Beckham and stockpile draft picks for him and get a good quality player and then make some offseason, acquisitions.
Okay. I
mean, they're almost there anyway.
Right. So, but someone that's going to win the offseason is the team that either trades for Watson or Houston for being able to trade him. That's the type of team that always will get the peg. I mean, the Rams made a good decision getting Stafford. I don't think it's a huge upgrade though. They kind of overpaid. But Detroit, having gotten Goff, and then if they go add 2 more players, they could quote win. So I just.
Yeah, but Kenny Golladay is another one. He might be on his way out too. He's a free agent.
Right. So it's hard.
That's a good point. So what's the lay of the land? What's the temperature over there about getting Matt Stafford?
It's basketball season.
It's basketball season.
That's what the lay of the land is. The Lakers and Clippers are playing. This is a basketball city first and foremost, and then the Dodgers, and then football, because these teams all came back. So that
maybe when people can actually get into that stadium, maybe that narrative might change a little bit.
It might. I mean, when the Rams made the Super Bowl, you saw people were happy about it, but they I mean, this is just—it's a basketball town.
All right.
The Lakers and the Clippers.
No Kings fans. No hockey.
There are Kings fans. but everything is dwarfed by the Lakers and the Clippers. It's just
It makes sense.
it is, yeah. Like the Dodgers are popular because they're winning. So and they just won the World Series. I mean, you got two champions and then everybody else.
Right. So like you said, but no juice. And I was curious because I kind of felt it was like you said, more of a lateral move. I don't know if it's a huge upgrade. Maybe it's a slight upgrade, but it's not a slam dunk.
No, I think they wanted out from his contract, and I think that they just weren't getting along, but he played hurt in the playoffs and still they won a game, and then they didn't like get humiliated or anything. He broke his wrist or something. He went immediately into surgery after the season. It was
Isn't it interesting though isn't it interesting because Goff and Wentz were the two highest paid quarterbacks just a few years ago, and both of them are going to be shipped out of their towns, their respective cities.
Yeah. There's a stat that like no team that has their quarterback as the highest paid, like a certain percentage of their payroll ever wins the Super Bowl. And like when you overpay for those guys, it's not surprising. You can't get anybody else.
So does that mean that Kansas City will never win another Super Bowl now?
Because they paid so much for Mahomes?
Yeah.
They'd have to go against the grain and be the first to do it.
Well, they're going to be in a very tough position in the next couple of years because they're going to have to resign Kelsey. They're going to have to resign Hill.
Well,
I mean, I don't know what you do with those guys. I mean, you're going to have $300 million invested in, or is it $400 million? I don't even remember how much the number is. It's astronomical.
Well, they can't bring those guys back. They're going to have to draft replacements that are just as good if they can get lucky. But
that's fine.
Yeah,
you take Tariq Hill. Get rid of him. I don't like him. Can't stand him.
Now, Kelsey, there's money in the bank. I don't know if they can keep him, but they better.
No.
So, Le'Veon Bell joined the Chiefs. Is he still going to be a Chief, or is he a free agent now?
No, I think
he'll be a free agent because he signed a 3-year deal anyway. I think, and a 4th-year option. He'll opt out of it. I mean, he was. Did he even get a touch in the Super Bowl?
No.
I don't think he played one snap in the Super Bowl.
No, I don't think so either. And I'm wondering, like, will he get picked up, and will he be a starter? Like, we kind of thought the fall for grace was probably coming after the holdout year, but everyone was like giving him the benefit of the doubt because he was very good. But he's old as a running back now.
No, I think the next iteration of Kansas City running back is CEH all the way. This was he's a rookie, like you said, no mini camp, no training camp, got off to a rough start. He's the quarterback or the running back going, in the future here.
So who signed Bell? I don't see him not playing.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I like it. Pittsburgh gets Bell and Antonio Brown back.
They're gonna run it. They're gonna run it back one more year.
Well, if Big Ben leaves, I could see him coming back. I think he's part of the reason they left, or really wanted to go. I don't get the impression he's a great teammate. Let's leave it there. All right. Do we have any real predictions about where these quarterbacks will land, or is it just like throwing darts?
I think it's throwing darts at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it's tough because what we can say is there's going to be a lot of quarterback movement. We already had 2, so you can chalk those 2 up, Stafford and Goff.
Yeah.
Bell. Well, I shouldn't say Roethlisberger might be going somewhere. Like you said, Sam might be going somewhere.
Well, and Wentz absolutely is. I mean,
Wentz is going. Wentz is I think Wentz is going to end up going to Indianapolis.
Okay.
I know I mentioned them before, but that's probably where Wentz is going to go because he's got ties with the staff there already, the coaching staff.
Okay. Do we still think Garoppolo is the Patriots' target? Because they need a quarterback.
I do.
Yeah.
I still do. I mean, Bill Belichick is in love with him. He didn't want to get rid of him the first time.
Yeah. And does that mean Cam Newton retires? I mean, he looks like a shell of himself. I guess he could back up somewhere, but
he's not going to want to be a backup anywhere. He's going to want to start. But he can't. I mean, his game has diminished so much that I don't know if any team would want to even take a flyer on him at this point.
No.
New England was desperate for a quarterback. They needed somebody, and that obviously did not work. Yeah. So
what possessed them to wait until August? I could never figure out why they didn't sign a quarterback earlier.
They got Cam for $1 million.
Yeah, but
Right.
that didn't play out so well. If they had a better quarterback, they'd made the playoffs. I mean, he lost them some games. He couldn't throw the ball.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't work out. It was a risk, and
Yeah,
didn't
no,
work
I'm
out.
just surprised that they waited all the way until right before the season to sign anybody. I mean,
Because I think they had thought originally that Jason Stidham was going to be their quarterback of the future, and they clearly figured out that wasn't going to be the case.
so
I
that's
think they
like,
were banking on that.
so is that Belichick's biggest blunder if he never makes it back to the playoffs with this team that he banked on Stidham? I mean,
They'll figure it out. I mean, they went 7-9 this year, right? And they looked terrible in most games. So
yeah, and I guess
if he had an accurate quarterback, they probably could have won at least another 2 or 3 games. You got to think.
And I just remembering they had 8 or 9 guys opt out of the season too, which may have prompted
Their whole defense.
Yeah, so it may have prompted them not to bother to spend any money. Maybe they thought the year would be canceled. Who knows? I'm sure at least one team thought that was going to happen. Yeah, that's interesting. The Patriots are a pretty good team, but the real good football team that probably will need a quarterback is the New Orleans Saints. Because I do think Drew Brees, did he officially announce his retirement? I think he retires. I think he should retire because he really fell off a cliff. But they got a very good team.
They need to figure out who's going to be their quarterback.
The last I heard is that they're going to have Jameis Winston. It was the latest I heard.
That's not going to go well.
I'm not saying I'm not debating that, but I'm saying that's the latest I heard about it.
And you can't have Taysom Hill.
Oh, God.
Is that like? Could that be a landing spot for Sam?
I was just thinking that's a tremendous spot for him.
I mean, you want to talk about top 5 defense, top 5 offense, great running game, good offensive line.
Sam Darnold throwing to Michael Thomas. Woo!
Good coaching, really good coaching. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what you would get for him.
You'll get Alvin Kamara in the trade.
Okay, I'll take that.
Yeah. The best thing I read post Super Bowl was that the Saints trotted out an old quarterback with a really great football team 3 years in a row, failed to win, and the Buccaneers tried it once and won it all. It was like, I loved it because
I love the one that says the amount of years that Tom Brady's been in the NFC, 1. The amount of Super Bowls he's won, 1. The amount of years, or it's been 25 years since Dallas' last Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yep. Well, I mean, Tom Brady, he's got more playoff wins than like any team in the history of the guy. It's some stupid statistic, that guy.
But look again. So this was another year where, yes, it's great to be a top seed, but another year that a 5th seed or below wins a Super Bowl. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Being that 1st seed is great, but when's the last number 1 seed to win a Super Bowl?
Kansas City last year?
No, weren't they the 2?
That's right. They were the 2. New England was the 1.
Oh, I mean, there's not a lot of difference though between the 1 and the 5. It's really the 6 and it was really the 6th, 7th seed. Well, besides the winner of the NFC East, but I mean, if you actually seeded these teams based on record and not division winners, they wouldn't have been 5.
It's just another example that you know, getting the number 1 spot is great. Number 2, well, not so much anymore because it doesn't matter, but you just got to get in. That's all it is. It doesn't matter what seed you are.
No, I agree. And even home field advantage is not all it's cooked up to be. I mean, this year especially, but it doesn't do or die. All right. I'm just going to put it out there, Bud. I'm warming to the fact of the Jets drafting a quarterback. I don't want them to, I've been so against it. But now that I'm seeing projections, I'm warming to the idea. Where are you at with your temperature? You're in.
I'll add to that. Why the quarterback from BYU and not Justin Fields?
I think what I've read is that he fits into the mold of the offense that they're going to run better than Justin Fields.
Okay.
Listen, that's fine. Listen, if that's the route they want to go, then whatever. I'll just have to buy another jersey. But here's the thing: like, just don't screw it up. Just don't screw it up. You have 19 picks in the next 2 years. Like, you cannot screw this up. You got the coach that everybody wanted. You got players in the league saying that they wanted their teams to hire this particular coach. You might get free agents because they want to play for him.
Yeah.
Right.
You put a nice staff together. I mean,
yeah. I mean, listen, just don't screw it up.
Well, this is their real opportunity to not be bad. I'm not going to say that they're going to be very good, but this is an opportunity to actually consistently not be bad. I haven't seen that in a while. There's a lot of false hope, but it feels like they might not be bad.
It's the way I feel about my Knicks right now. They're not doormats right now. They're hovering around 500. It's watchable, and it's not, you don't know the outcome before they start playing. It's actually fun to watch again.
That's good.
Now, they're not going to win a championship, but at least it's fun to watch again. Like,
no.
It's been 20 years, so it's enough of this.
And with that record, they could squeak into the playoffs, because normally the last seed of the playoffs is a losing record. I mean, so
yeah, it's just but to that point, it's I hope that, when the Giants drafted Daniel Jones at 7, they got roasted by everybody. The Jets are going to be picking number 2. As then, to Bud's point, you can't screw that up. You're picking number 2. That's going to be tough to defend.
No, I agree. I mean, if they're going to go quarterback, I'd love for them to be able to draft back to 5 or 6 and pick the quarterback, because there are better players ahead of those quarterbacks. But if anybody wants to trade up, were they going to really trade up for the receiver or the O-lineman? Probably not. They're trading up for the quarterback. So
right.
I don't know if it works. Are we doing another virtual draft this year? Because I liked that last year. Do you know? That would be fun.
They'll probably end up doing it this year because it's going to be so close to being able to do it and not being. I think there's one more virtual draft in the works. That's what I think. That's my prediction.
Okay. Because that was really fun last season. I don't know.
I thought it was fun. I mean, I did read something that the Jets were hoping to have a full stadium this year.
Meaning in the fall?
Yeah, I think that's crazy. I don't think that's going to happen. But
I don't. I think that's going to happen. I think it's happening.
I could see 50% capacity, a whole stadium.
I can see 50%. I can't see 85,000 people.
If it's true that by July, as they're claiming, that we're going to be almost ready to go, then I can see full stadiums in September. If July is the target for having mass vaccinations, you'll see full stadiums in September.
Yeah,
I hope they're right.
I hope they're right too. We got to get out of the winter first. It's easy to say that when everyone's sitting at home because you're covered in snow.
Of course. But if we're going to project 6 months out, I mean, look where we are. It's February. They've only had this thing going for 2 months, and they've already done 46 or 52 million already. So it's, they got time on their side, which is good.
Making good progress. Phil, I'm with you. I hope that that's the case, but September just feels a little early for me. I'm cautiously optimistic with speed at which this turns around. I'm like,
I'll enjoy the games from my house.
If you're allowed to go to the stadiums and no tailgating, I'm not interested. I'll go the year after.
All right. Well, that probably is a guarantee. I mean,
that's half the fun of going.
But they're not going to let you have a big party in the parking lot, you think?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm more pessimistic about that than I am being able to actually go and sit in a chair outdoors. You may have to have one of your stupid masks on, but you may be allowed to sit in an outdoor stadium.
Well, are you going to sell your tickets then for the if you can't tailgate?
Well, I say that now, but I might change my mind when we get closer.
Yeah. Okay. After getting credited a season or whatever they did for you, you're like itching to go, I'm sure. So.
I am itching to go. I'm sure, but see, that's the good thing. So selfishly for me, yes, I'm itching, and so is about 2 million New York fans that want to go too. So
yeah.
We'll see how that works.
All right, we got a little, just a smidge of time left. We danced around some predictions. This has been a really fun conversation. Anything bold you guys want to throw out there before we wrap up the show? It's hard, I know.
Well, yeah, nothing bold, but I think we'll do this in maybe a few weeks, every other week or something like that, because we'll be a lot closer to free agency in 2 weeks. Because I think it's early March when they start the new league year.
Yeah, we'll pick up that first week of March with a pre free agency show. I think we'll have a little bit more to chew on at that point.
I think so too.
I just hope the Jets don't screw it up. But we say that every year, but it's just a broken record.
It's redundant. It's the definition of crazy.
Maybe if you burned all of your old quarterback jerseys in like one big trash bin, you'd release the sins of the team, and we could venture off into a winning era.
It's a great idea.
All right, we could do it live on the show.
Yeah, I'm all for it.